a gold digger, a parasite.
Tyler Bradshaw's voice boomed through the courtroom like a hammer. He didn't look at Aisha. Head high, jaw clenched.
I work 60 hours a week. So this woman can sit on my couch, eat my food, and spend my money. That's all she's done.
He turned to her with utter contempt.
You're nothing without me. You'd still rot in the slums you crawled out of.
2 rows behind him, a blonde in crimson smirked. Glossy lips, eyes on Aisha like she'd already won. Silence. Aisha Davis sat motionless, arms crossed. She whispered to her lawyer.
It's all right, let him speak.
Because Aisha knows something no one in this courtroom knows. And when it comes out, Tyler Bradshaw will wish he'd never opened his mouth. 5 years before that courtroom, Aisha Davis was standing in the rain. Her car had died on Connecticut Avenue in D.C., a Tuesday night. The kind of rain that soaks through your jacket in seconds. She was on hold with a tow company, laughing at herself. A woman who could buy the whole block, stranded like a college kid with a dead battery. That's when Tyler Bradshaw pulled over. He didn't know who she was. She didn't tell him. He rolled down his window and said, "You look like you could use some company while you wait." They sat in his car for 45 minutes. Windows fogged, rain hammering the roof. They talked about her favorite jazz album, his obsession with old westerns, the diner across the street that made terrible coffee but perfect pie. Tyler was different then, warm, spontaneous. He told Aisha about growing up poor after his father left, working 2 jobs through college, swearing he'd never end up like his old man. Aisha related. She grew up in East Baltimore. Mother was a school janitor. Father drove a city bus. She told Tyler she worked in tech. True, just not the whole truth. See, Aisha had been burned before. A previous boyfriend found out about her money and changed overnight. Possessive, entitled, treated her like an ATM with a pulse. So she made a rule. The next person who loved her would love her without knowing. Tyler never asked how much she made. She took that as trust. It was actually indifference. They married a year later, bought a 4-bedroom colonial in McLean, Virginia. Aisha quietly transferred $220,000 from her corporate holding account for the down payment. Tyler assumed it was a family loan. Never asked. She never corrected him. Year 1 was good. They cooked together. Tyler kissed her forehead every morning before work. Year 2, things shifted. Tyler got promoted. His income jumped. Suddenly, everything became about money. The restaurants, the car, the watch. He started calling himself the provider at parties, arm around Aisha. This one's lucky I found her. Year 3, the mask cracked open. At a dinner party, Tyler told a colleague, in front of Aisha, "I basically rescued her from Baltimore." She heard it from the kitchen doorway, set down her wine glass. Something shifted inside her that night, something permanent. Then came Megan Collier, 29, blonde, junior marketing coordinator. She laughed at every joke Tyler told, called him so successful, never challenged him, never pushed back. Tyler started coming home late, phone always face down, texting under the covers at midnight. His mother, Lorraine, knew. She didn't stop it. She poured gasoline. "Sweetheart, you deserve someone more suitable, someone from your world." The word suitable hung like smoke. They both knew what it meant. One evening, Aisha picked up Tyler's jacket to hang it. A receipt fell out. Boutique hotel in Georgetown, midweek, for 2. She didn't scream, didn't cry. She sat on the edge of the bed, holding the receipt, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Clarity. She photographed it, put it back. Tyler never knew. Then, the cruelest part, Tyler filed for divorce. Not Aisha, Tyler. Sunday morning, Kitchen table, coffee still steaming. He said, "I want out. I've met someone who actually appreciates me, but I'll be fair. I'll make sure you're taken care of." Like he was doing her a favor. Aisha already had the receipts, the hotel records, the credit card trail. But she just said, "Okay, Tyler. That's it? You've made your choice." That night, Tyler told Megan, "She didn't even fight. She knows she's got nothing without me." 2 weeks later, Megan moved into Aisha's house, posted photos in Aisha's kitchen, sat on Aisha's couch, slept in Aisha's bed. And now, October, a Tuesday morning, they were all in the same room. Fairfax County Family Court. Fluorescent lights buzzing, worn carpet, the smell of old wood and recycled air. Tyler at the plaintiff's table with his lawyer, Scott Hendricks. Aisha at the defendant's table with Denise Carroll. 2 rows behind Tyler, Megan in her crimson dress, shoulder to shoulder with Lorraine, whispering, smiling, like family. Judge Eleanor Whitfield entered, reading glasses on a chain, no expression. She'd already read every filing. She knew something no one else in that room did. Tyler's attorney, Scott Hendricks, stood first, gray suit, silver cufflinks, voice like a man who'd won cases before breakfast. "Your Honor, my client is requesting spousal support from Ms. Davis." He let the sentence land. A few heads in the gallery turned. During the course of this 4-year marriage, Mr. Bradshaw served as the sole financial provider. He maintained the household. He funded all vacations, dining, clothing, and lifestyle expenses entirely from his personal income. Ms. Davis contributed nothing of financial substance to the marriage. Hendricks adjusted his glasses. "We are also requesting an equitable division of all marital assets, including the family home in McLean, Virginia, which my client purchased with his own savings." At the defendant's table, Aisha's jaw tightened. Just barely. No one noticed, except Denise Carroll, who placed a steadying hand on the table between them. Then Tyler stood. He buttoned his jacket slowly, smoothed his tie, took a breath like a man about to deliver a speech he'd been rehearsing in the mirror for weeks. "Your Honor, I'm going to be honest with you, because someone in this room needs to be." He placed both hands flat on the table and leaned forward. "I gave this woman everything. A roof over her head, food on the table, a lifestyle she couldn't have dreamed of. 4 years of my life, working, grinding, building. Not for me, for us. Except there was no us. There was me doing everything and her doing nothing." He let the word nothing echo. "I woke up at 5:30 every morning. I drove an hour to work. I closed deals. I brought home a paycheck. And what did she do? She sat at home on her laptop playing with some website she calls a business." A few people in the gallery shifted. Someone exhaled sharply. Tyler glanced toward Megan. She gave him a small nod. "Go on, baby." "Her little computer company? It barely covers her phone bill. I've seen what she makes. There's nothing to see. It's a fantasy, she tells herself, so she doesn't have to admit what she really is." He pointed at Aisha without turning his head. His finger hung in the air like an accusation. "She is a gold digger. She was never in this marriage for love, Your Honor. She was in it for the paycheck. My paycheck." He paused, adjusted his cufflinks, then added with a half-smile, "I've moved on. I've found someone who actually values what I bring to the table. Someone who sees me, not my bank account." He looked at Megan again, this time longer, softer, performing tenderness for the gallery. Megan uncrossed her legs, recrossed them, and smiled. Slow, deliberate. The kind of smile designed to be seen by every person in the room. Lorraine patted Megan's knee like a mother welcoming a new daughter. Judge Whitfield's expression remained unreadable. She wrote something down. Hendricks moved to the evidence table. He picked up a manila folder and opened it with practiced efficiency. Exhibit A, Your Honor. He held up a stack of credit card statements. Page after page. Monthly charges. Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Michelin-starred restaurants, a $14,000 trip to the Maldives. All on Tyler's American Express. All in Aisha's name. Every luxury Ms. Davis enjoyed during this marriage was funded entirely by my client. Every dinner, every handbag, every vacation, every single one. He fanned the pages out on the table like a deck of cards. The gallery craned their necks to look. Exhibit B, a single printed page. He held it up for the courtroom, slowly, theatrically, like a doctor showing an x-ray of something terminal. Your Honor, this is Ms. Davis's personal checking account. Her current balance, $4,211. He lowered the page and looked at the gallery. $4,000. That is the entirety of what this woman has to her name. That is what she brought into this marriage. And that is what she has now. A murmur rippled through the room. Someone in the third row shook their head. A man near the aisle folded his arms and glanced at Aisha with unmistakable judgment. Megan leaned forward, her eyes bright, satisfied. Exhibit C. Hendricks held up a screenshot printed on legal paper. A business registration from the state of Maryland. Pinnacle Dynamics, LLC. Filed 9 years ago. Startup capital listed, $500. This is her company, Your Honor. He tapped the page. $500 in startup capital. No reported revenue in this filing. No employees listed. This isn't a business. This is a line on a tax return. Tyler leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, chin up. The room was buying it. He could feel it in the air, in the shifting of bodies, in the quiet glances toward Aisha. And they were buying it. The gallery was turning. People looked at Aisha with pity, with suspicion, with the particular discomfort of watching someone get exposed. One woman in the back row leaned to her neighbor and whispered, "I've seen this before. Classic. So sad." Another woman nodded slowly. A man in a sport coat looked at Tyler with something close to sympathy. Megan tilted her head. Watching Aisha the way a cat watches something it's already caught. Then Tyler went further. He stood again, without permission, without prompting. Your Honor, I want to say something personal, if I may. Judge Whitfield looked at him over her reading glasses. Keep it brief and relevant, Mr. Bradshaw. It is relevant. He straightened his tie. Aisha comes from a certain background. Her mother was a janitor. Her father drove a bus. Now, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not judging. But let's be realistic. That's not a background that teaches you about money, about building wealth, about contributing to a partnership. He paused. Let the silence do the work. People from certain communities, and I say this with respect, they see someone with a good job, a nice house, a future, and they attach themselves, not out of malice, it's just instinct, it's survival. He never said the word black. He didn't have to. Every sentence was loaded. Every pause was a dog whistle, tuned to a frequency the whole room could hear. Denise Carroll rose. Objection, Your Honor. Counsel's client is making thinly veiled characterizations based on race and socioeconomic stereotyping. Judge Whitfield's eyes narrowed. Sustained. Mr. Bradshaw, confine your remarks to facts directly relevant to the financial dispute. One more comment of that nature, and I will hold you in contempt. Am I clear? Tyler raised both palms. Crystal clear, Your Honor. I'm just telling the truth as I see it. But the damage was done. The ink was in the water. He hadn't named it. He didn't need to. Every person in the gallery had already filled in the blank. Then came his final move before the recess. Tyler turned to face Aisha, fully, directly, for the first time since the hearing began. He looked at her the way you look at something you've already thrown away. Your Honor, I want to be transparent. Yes, I'm in a new relationship. He glanced at Megan. She lifted her chin. Lorraine squeezed her arm. And honestly, for the first time in years, I feel like a man again. I feel seen. I feel respected. I finally have a partner who brings something to the table, not someone who just takes and takes and takes until there's nothing left. He let that sit. Then he turned back to Aisha. His voice dropped low, quiet, almost intimate, the cruelest register a voice can reach. I gave you 4 good years. 4 years of my life, Aisha. You should be thanking me. Megan's eyes glistened. She pressed her lips together, the performance of a woman trying not to cry from pride. Lorraine rubbed her back. The courtroom held its breath. And Aisha, the woman who had just been called a parasite, a gold digger, a product of the slums, did not move. She sat still, hands folded, breathing even. Her face showed nothing. Not pain, not anger, not surrender. Nothing. Hendricks cleared his throat. We note for the record that Ms. Davis has presented no counter-evidence regarding her financial standing or professional income. Denise Carroll didn't stand. She spoke from her seat, voice flat as concrete. My client's full financial disclosures are in the court's file, Your Honor. We will present them when it's our turn. But the gallery didn't hear patience. They heard silence. And in a courtroom, silence looks exactly like guilt. Tyler leaned to Hendricks and whispered, loud enough for the first 3 rows to hear, "This'll be done by lunch." Megan recrossed her legs. Lorraine folded her hands like a woman sitting in church on Easter Sunday. And Judge Eleanor Whitfield, the only person in this room who had read every single page of every single filing, wrote something in her notebook. She didn't look up. She didn't need to. Judge Whitfield called a 15-minute recess. Tyler didn't wait. He walked straight to Megan in the hallway. Long stride, loose shoulders. He kissed her forehead right there, in front of the attorneys, the clerks, the other couples waiting for their hearings. His hand rested on the small of her back. "Almost over, babe," he said, loud enough for the hallway. "She's got $4,000 in her bank account. $4,000. This'll be done before lunch." Megan pressed against his arm and smiled. "I knew it from the start. She never deserved you." Tyler laughed, a short, hard bark. "The whole room sees it. She's done." Lorraine came out behind them. She didn't go to Tyler or Megan. She went straight to Aisha. Aisha was standing by the water fountain at the end of the hallway, alone. Denise had stepped into a side room to organize files. Lorraine walked up slowly. That particular smile on her face, the kind that looks gentle from a distance and draws blood up close. "Sweetheart," she said, "no hard feelings. Really. I mean that." Aisha didn't respond. Lorraine stepped closer. Close enough that Aisha could smell her perfume. Something floral, something expensive. Tyler's happy now, genuinely happy. He's with someone more suited to him, more compatible. She looked Aisha up and down, from her shoes to her hair to her skin, slowly, deliberately. "Some people just fit together better. It's nobody's fault. It's just how nature works." The word suited, the word nature, each one a blade wrapped in silk. Lorraine didn't need to say what she really meant. The slow, measuring scan of Aisha's body said it for her. Aisha looked at Lorraine for a long, still moment. Then she said quietly, "Thank you for your concern, Mrs. Bradshaw." She turned and walked back toward the courtroom. Her fingers brushed her grandmother's bracelet, thin, gold, worn smooth by 40 years of daily wear, worth maybe $40 at a pawn shop, worth more than anything in that hallway. As she passed the corridor junction, an attorney walking the opposite direction froze mid-step. The woman stared at Aisha. Recognition flashed across her face, eyes widening, lips parting, like she was about to call out a name. But Aisha caught her eye and shook her head. A tiny movement, almost invisible. The attorney closed her mouth, nodded once, kept walking. Somebody in that courthouse knew exactly who Aisha Davis was, and Aisha wasn't ready for anyone else to know. Not yet. The recess ended. Everyone filed back in. The air in the courtroom had changed. It felt heavier now. The fluorescent lights buzzed louder. The room smelled like sweat and old paper and something tight and electric, like the air before a thunderstorm cracks open. Tyler took the stand again. He rolled his shoulders, adjusted his tie, settled into the witness chair like a man sitting down to a meal he planned to enjoy. Your Honor, I'd like to walk through exactly what I contributed to this marriage. He held up his hand and counted on his fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, like he was explaining arithmetic to a child. My salary over 4 years, roughly $780,000. My 401k, $340,000. My professional network, my reputation, my name. He placed both hands flat on the stand and leaned forward. And the house, our family home in McLean, valued at $1.1 million. I put down $220,000 from my personal savings. I signed the mortgage. I paid the taxes, the insurance, the landscaping. Every single dollar came from me. He said me like a man hammering a nail into a coffin. Every word about that down payment was a lie sworn under oath, recorded by the court reporter, entered into the permanent record. But Tyler had told it so many times, to Lorraine, to Megan, to Hendricks, to his own reflection, that the lie had hardened into something he believed was truth. He wasn't finished. Your Honor, I'm building a new life now, a better one. He looked at Megan. She pressed her hand to her heart. Megan and I are planning a real future together. All I'm asking is that this court doesn't let a woman who contributed absolutely nothing drag me down on her way out the door. Then he turned to Aisha. His voice dropped, cold, flat, deliberate. You had your chance, Aisha. You wasted it. Take whatever the court gives you, go back to Baltimore, and start over where you belong. Where you belong. Not where you grew up, not where you came from. Where you belong. The cruelty wasn't in the volume. It was in the precision. A woman in the gallery inhaled sharply. The court reporter's fingers paused on the stenotype, one beat, then resumed. Aisha's face showed nothing. But beneath the table, her left hand gripped her right wrist hard enough to leave a red mark on her skin. Nobody saw. Denise saw. She placed her hand over Aisha's and squeezed. Once. Hold, not yet. Judge Whitfield pressed her pen into her notepad so hard the tip nearly broke through the paper. Then Hendricks called the next witness. Your Honor, we'd like to call Mrs. Lorraine Bradshaw to the stand. Lorraine stood from the gallery, smoothed her blouse, patted Megan's hand. "I'll be right back, sweetie," and walked to the witness stand with the upright posture of a woman who believed she was doing God's work. She was sworn in, folded her hands in her lap, looked at Tyler with maternal pride, then turned to Aisha, and every trace of warmth disappeared. "Mrs. Bradshaw, how would you describe your daughter-in-law's behavior during the marriage?" Lorraine tilted her head, paused, as if she had been waiting years to answer this question. "Secretive," she said. "That's the word I keep coming back to. Secretive. And cold." She leaned forward in the chair. She was always on her phone, always disappearing into another room to take calls from people Tyler had never heard of. She never once introduced us to anyone from her so-called business, never once invited her own family to the house. In 4 years of marriage, not a single time. She let the silence do its work. What kind of wife hides her entire life from her husband's family? I'll tell you what kind. The kind who has something to hide. "And did you express these concerns to your son?" "Many times. I told Tyler again and again, something isn't right with this woman. A woman who keeps that many secrets cannot be trusted." But he loved her. He gave her every benefit of the doubt, and she used that love against him. Every single thing Lorraine described, the private phone calls, the separate professional world, the guarded personal boundaries, was the architecture of a $120 million corporate empire. But stripped of context, in this courtroom, in front of these strangers, it sounded exactly like the profile of a con artist. Then Lorraine delivered the line she'd been saving. She looked at Megan in the gallery. Crimson dress, glossy lips, sitting tall and radiant. Then she turned and looked at Aisha. Navy suit, thin bracelet, still as stone. "My son deserves a woman who is proud to stand beside him. A woman who lifts him up and shows the world she belongs with him. Not someone who sits in the shadows and rides along for free." The comparison was naked. Megan, visible, beautiful, white. Aisha, quiet, guarded, black. Lorraine didn't speak those words. The image spoke them for her. Denise Carroll stood. The courtroom held its breath. "No questions, Your Honor. The facts will speak for themselves. Soon enough." She sat down. Tyler grinned. Hendricks nodded. Megan mouthed, "I love you," from the gallery. Lorraine returned to her seat and took Megan's hand, mother and daughter. Every single person in that courtroom had already decided who Aisha Davis was. And that was the most dangerous moment of all. Then Denise Carroll rose. She didn't slam a folder, didn't raise her voice. She stood the way a surgeon stands before the first incision, calm, precise, absolutely certain of what comes next. "Your Honor, I'd like to enter my client's complete financial disclosures into the record." She lifted a thick binder from beneath the table, tabbed, indexed, color-coded with sticky notes. The kind of binder that takes weeks to build and seconds to detonate. She set it on the table with a heavy thud. Then she produced a sealed white envelope, crisp, red certification stamp across the flap. "Exhibit 14, Your Honor. Certified forensic audit of Pinnacle Dynamics Holdings and all associated accounts." Tyler glanced at the binder, smirked, whispered to Hendricks, "Her little $500 company. This should be fun." Hendricks didn't laugh. He was already flipping through his copy of the disclosure packet. One page, another. Then his hand froze. He flipped back, read again. His jaw tightened. The color drained from his face. Forehead first, then cheeks, then lips. He leaned to Tyler and whispered something urgent. Tyler's smirk faded. What? What is it? Denise ignored them. She looked at Tyler, steady, unhurried, and asked one question. Mr. Bradshaw, when you called my client a gold digger, were you referring to her personal savings, her business equity, her federal government contracts, or her investment portfolio? 2 seconds of absolute silence. She doesn't have any of that. Denise turned to the judge. Your Honor, Exhibit 14, please. The courtroom went dead, fluorescent lights buzzing, court reporters' hands hovering frozen above the keys. Megan's smile gone, wiped clean off her face. Judge Whitfield opened the sealed envelope, put on her reading glasses, began to read. And the only sound in Fairfax County Family Court was the turning of a single page. Judge Whitfield read from the certified forensic audit, slowly, every syllable deliberate. Pinnacle Dynamics, LLC, was founded 9 years ago with $500 in startup capital. Tyler nodded, smirked. Exactly what I said. The company is now a privately held cybersecurity firm with annual revenue exceeding $85 million. The smirk vanished. Pinnacle Dynamics currently holds active contracts with 3 federal agencies, including the United States Department of Defense. Tyler's lips parted. Nothing came out. Ms. Davis's personal net worth, verified by independent forensic audit, is approximately $120 million. The judge removed her glasses, looked at Tyler. Mr. Bradshaw, your wife's verified net worth is approximately 100 times your own. 3 seconds of absolute nothing. Then a gasp from the gallery. Then another. Murmuring rolled through the room like distant thunder. Lorraine's hand flew to her mouth. Megan gripped the bench. Every drop of color left her face at once. Her glossy lips fell open. The eyes that had been locked on Aisha all morning, confident, smug, victorious, went wide and hollow. Tyler seized the edge of the table. That's not... She told me she had a small startup. Mr. Bradshaw, your wife's federal contracts are publicly accessible. A basic internet search would have confirmed this. The judge's voice was flat. This court is not responsible for your failure to know your own spouse. Tyler stood without permission, chair scraping the floor. She lied to me. She hid everything. Sit down, Mr. Bradshaw. Sit down. He sat, hands trembling. Hendricks stared at his legal pad. Nothing to write. No strategy left. Tyler looked at Megan. Instinct. A drowning man reaching for a rope. Megan wasn't looking at him. She was staring at Aisha. Not with hostility, not with jealousy, with something colder, mechanical. The upgrade was recalculating. Denise Carroll rose and opened the binder. Your Honor, the prenuptial agreement states that all premarital business assets remain separate property. Pinnacle Dynamics was founded 3 years before the marriage. Every dollar of the company belongs solely to my client. She turned a page. The agreement also includes a fraud clause. Any party who makes fraudulent representations about the other spouse's finances forfeits all rights to spousal support. She looked at Tyler. Mr. Bradshaw testified under oath that Miss Davis was financially dependent. He called her a gold digger, a parasite. He stated he funded the family home from personal savings. Pause. Every single one of those statements triggered the fraud clause, his own words, on the record. Then the kill shot, a certified bank document, Wire transfer dated 4 years ago. $220,000 from Pinnacle Dynamics Holdings, LLC, to the title company handling the McLean house. The down payment Mr. Bradshaw claimed as his own was wired from my client's corporate account. His sworn testimony was false. Tyler turned to Hendricks. Hendricks wouldn't look at him. Denise wasn't done. She entered a final set of exhibits: hotel receipts, credit card charges, jewelry, weekend trips, flowers, time-stamped photos pulled from Tyler's own social media. Megan in Aisha's kitchen, on Aisha's couch, in Aisha's bed. All posted within 2 weeks of the separation. Your Honor, Mr. Bradshaw filed for this divorce to be with another woman. He moved that woman into a home his wife paid for. He spent $12,000 in marital funds financing the affair, and now he is asking this court to award him money. She closed the binder. We ask the court to enforce the prenuptial agreement in full. Silence. Heavy. Vibrating. You could feel it pressing against the walls. Then Aisha spoke. First time, the entire proceeding. Her voice, steady, unhurried, clear as glass. Your Honor, I never lied to my husband. I told him I worked in tech. I told him I had a business. He never asked what it was worth. She paused. Because he assumed the answer was not much. And that assumption had nothing to do with anything I said or did. It was based on what I look like, where I come from, what he believed someone like me could build. Quieter now, every word landing like a stone dropped into still water. He didn't leave me because I failed him. He left me because he found someone who looked more like what he believed a successful man's wife should look like. She looked at Tyler. No anger, no triumph, just a steady, unbreakable clarity. I didn't hide my success, Your Honor. He just never imagined it was possible. The gallery didn't move, didn't breathe. The woman who had whispered sad hours ago was crying now, silently, hand over her mouth. A man in a sport coat stared at his own hands like he was seeing them for the first time. Megan's eyes were fixed on the floor. Lorraine rose from the gallery, slowly. She didn't speak, didn't look at Tyler, didn't look at Megan. She walked down the aisle, pushed through the courtroom door, and disappeared. The door clicked shut behind her. A small sound, the smallest sound in the room, and somehow the loudest. Tyler Bradshaw sat at the plaintiff's table, head bowed, hands flat on the wood. He did not look up. Tyler tried one last time. His voice came out thin, stripped of the confidence that had filled it an hour ago, like a tire slowly losing air. Your Honor, I spoke out of emotion. I was frustrated. I didn't mean the things I said. I love Aisha. I've always respected her. Judge Whitfield raised one hand. He stopped. Mr. Bradshaw, this court has a complete transcript. She picked up Gail Patterson's record and read from it without inflection. You called your wife a parasite. You said she was nothing. You told her to go back to the slums she crawled out of. You brought your girlfriend to this courtroom to watch. You testified under oath that you funded a home your wife's company paid for. She set the transcript down. Respect is not a word you say when things go wrong, Mr. Bradshaw. It is a pattern of behavior, and this court has seen yours, clearly. Tyler's mouth opened. Nothing came out. He sat down. Judge Whitfield delivered her ruling. Spousal support denied. Tyler's claim was dismissed with prejudice under the prenuptial fraud clause. a clause he triggered himself with his own testimony on the record. The house in McLean, ordered sold. Proceeds divided 90% to Aisha, 10% to Tyler, reflecting verified evidence that the down payment and the majority of mortgage payments originated from Aisha's corporate accounts. Megan Collier was ordered to vacate the property within 30 days. Legal fees. Tyler was ordered to pay Aisha's legal costs, approximately $85,000, under the prenuptial agreement's bad faith litigation provision. The court noted for the record that Virginia is an at-fault divorce state. Tyler's documented adultery, hotel receipts, credit card charges, social media posts, was entered as a factor in the property division. Contempt warning. Judge Whitfield formally stated that Tyler's false testimony regarding the down payment may constitute perjury. The matter was referred to the county prosecutor's office for further review. The prenuptial agreement held. Every dollar of Pinnacle Dynamics, all $120 million, remained Aisha's. Separate property. Untouchable. When the math was done, Tyler Bradshaw would walk away from his 4-year marriage with approximately $110,000. His 10% of the house minus Aisha's legal fees. $110,000. From a man who had stood in this room 2 hours ago calling his wife a gold digger. Judge Whitfield struck her gavel. Court was adjourned. Tyler stood, slowly. He looked like a man who had aged 10 years in 90 minutes. His jacket hung wrong on his shoulders. His tie was loose. His hands wouldn't stop moving, touching the table, touching his collar, touching nothing. He walked into the hallway and looked for Megan. Her seat in the gallery was empty. Her coat was gone. No note, no message, no goodbye. Megan Collier had slipped out during the ruling, quietly, efficiently, without a single word. The way you leave a restaurant when you realize you can't afford the check. The upgrade had upgraded herself, away from him. Lorraine was waiting by the elevator, red-eyed, frantic. "We'll appeal," she said, gripping Tyler's sleeve. "She tricked you. She hid everything. We'll fight this." Tyler looked at his mother. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, quietly, in a voice Lorraine had never heard from her son before, "Mom, she didn't trick me." "Tyler, I never asked. 4 years, and I never once asked what her company was worth. I never looked. I never cared." He pulled his arm free. "She didn't hide anything. I just didn't think she was capable of being more than what I decided she was." Lorraine opened her mouth, closed it, had nothing. "Please stop," Tyler said. "Just stop." The elevator arrived. He stepped in alone. The doors closed. Aisha walked out of the courtroom with Denise Carroll beside her. They didn't speak. Their heels clicked on the marble floor, steady, even, unhurried. At the elevator bank, Aisha stopped. She touched her grandmother's bracelet, ran her thumb along the smooth, warm gold. She closed her eyes, exhaled, long, slow, all the way down to the bottom of her lungs. She didn't smile. She nodded, once, small, private. The kind of nod you give yourself when you close a chapter you wrote on your own terms. The attorney from the hallway appeared, the woman who had recognized Aisha during the recess. "Ms. Davis, I follow Pinnacle's work. I'm sorry you had to go through all of this." Aisha looked at her, calm, clear. "Thank you, but I didn't go through it." She pressed the elevator button. "I walked through it." The story broke 48 hours later. A courthouse reporter for a D.C. area news outlet had been in the gallery that Tuesday. She was there for a different case. But when Tyler called his wife a parasite and the judge read $120 million into the record. She forgot the hearing she came for. She filed the piece that evening. The headline? Husband calls wife a gold digger in divorce court. She's worth 100 times more. By midnight, 200,000 shares. By morning, national news. Cable networks ran it by lunch. Social media turned it into a wildfire nobody could contain, and nobody wanted to. Hashtags formed overnight. Hashtag Aisha Davis. Hashtag Know Your Worth. Hashtag Gold Digger Reversal. 3 straight days of trending. Comment sections overflowed. Reaction channels turned the case into content, racking up millions of views before the week was out. Strangers who had never stepped inside a courtroom were debating prenuptial clauses and forensic audits over breakfast. But the article was not the thing that traveled fastest. It was the photo. Someone in the gallery had taken a single image. Megan Collier and Lorraine Bradshaw, side by side in the second row, shoulders touching, whispering, smiling. And 10 feet ahead, Aisha Davis sat alone, with her hands folded, while her husband tore her apart. That image moved faster than any headline. News panels showed it in split screen. Commentators called it the photo that says everything. A blonde mistress and a mother-in-law, smiling in a courtroom, while a black woman was called a parasite by the man who slept in a bed she paid for. It was shared, screenshotted, and stitched into news segments across the country. It became a symbol. Aisha declined every interview. Her silence made the story louder than any microphone ever could. Tyler's life came apart in layers. His employer placed him on administrative leave within 72 hours. One sentence from the firm: "We are conducting an internal review." Co-workers who had laughed at his breadwinner jokes crossed hallways to avoid him. His desk sat empty. His nameplate vanished from the office directory without explanation. Tyler deactivated social media within a day. Too late. Screenshots of his posts. Megan in Aisha's kitchen. Megan on Aisha's couch. Megan holding wine in front of Aisha's fireplace had been archived, shared, and turned into memes. The internet does not forget. It catalogs. Then Megan disappeared. 3 days after the ruling, she packed everything and left the McLean house. No goodbye, no note, no final conversation. She blocked Tyler's number and email, removed every photo of him from her social media until no trace of Tyler Bradshaw remained in her digital life. She posted one Instagram story, a sunrise, 2 words, "New chapter." She never said his name again. 3 months later, she resurfaced. New city, new man. A hedge fund manager in Manhattan. Rooftop brunch. Diamond earrings worth more than Tyler's entire retirement account. The upgrade had upgraded herself. Tyler was not even a footnote. Then Lorraine made things worse. Against Tyler's wishes, she went on camera with a local TV reporter. She believed, with total sincerity, that the public simply did not understand her son's side. "That woman trapped my son," Lorraine said, leaning into the microphone. "She hid who she was. In my day, a wife was honest with her husband about everything." The reporter nodded, then asked one question. "Mrs. Bradshaw, your son brought his girlfriend to court and moved her into the marital home within 2 weeks. Do you consider that honest?" Lorraine blinked, mouth open, closed, open again. Nothing came out. 11 seconds. 4 million views in 48 hours. Not as a defense of Tyler, as a textbook demonstration of the exact double standard the case exposed. While the public storm raged, the legal system ground forward in silence. Aisha's legal team filed a motion for a forensic audit of Tyler's disclosures. The court appointed Neil Ashford, a veteran forensic accountant, to investigate. His findings were methodical and devastating. Tyler had maintained a hidden brokerage account worth $85,000, absent from his filings. The $220,000 down payment he swore came from personal savings was traced to a wire from Pinnacle Dynamics Holdings LLC, Aisha's company. He had inflated his annual income by $40,000 through projected commissions never earned. He had backdated a retirement account to appear premarital when it was opened 6 months after the wedding. And he had spent $12,000 in marital funds on hotel rooms, jewelry, dinners, and a weekend trip with Meghan. He had financed his affair with his wife's money. Every hotel, every bouquet, every romantic dinner, paid for by the woman he called a parasite. Judge Whitfield ordered a fraud hearing. Tyler arrived alone. No Lorraine, no Meghan, just Hendricks, looking like a man counting the days until he could close this file. Tyler was thinner than he had been 6 weeks earlier. His suit hung loose at the shoulders. His eyes never left the table. Ashford projected each finding on the courtroom screen. Bank records, wire transfers, tax filings, timestamps. Each document clean and undeniable. Tyler watched his own lies disassemble in front of him, one exhibit at a time. Hendricks tried one last defense. "These are accounting oversights, Your Honor." Ashford did not raise his voice. 5 independent misrepresentations, all favoring Mr. Bradshaw, all concealing assets or inflating income, are not oversights. They are a deliberate and sustained pattern of deception. Judge Whitfield ruled without hesitation. Contempt of court for fraudulent disclosures, referred to the county prosecutor for perjury. House proceeds recalculated, 95% to Aisha, 5% to Tyler. $50,000 in punitive sanctions. Broker's license reported to Virginia DPOR for disciplinary review. 2 weeks later, Tyler accepted a plea on the perjury charge. 18 months probation, 200 hours community service, a permanent criminal record that would follow him for the rest of his professional life. His employer terminated him the following Monday morning. No farewell, no severance. A cardboard box of personal belongings waiting at the reception desk. 1 week after the plea, Aisha released a single statement through Pinnacle Dynamics. "This was never about money. I built my company so my worth would never be defined by someone else's assumptions. My ex-husband did not just underestimate me, he replaced me with someone he considered more suitable." A pause. That word, suitable, tells you everything about what this was really about. I hope this reminds anyone who has been overlooked or discarded. Your silence is not weakness. Sometimes it is the loudest thing in the room. Shared over 2 million times in a single week. 3 universities requested it for curriculum. A National Women's Leadership Conference invited Aisha to deliver the opening keynote. She accepted. 6 months later, Aisha Davis sat in her corner office at Pinnacle Dynamics headquarters in Tysons Corner, Virginia. Floor-to-ceiling windows, the DC skyline glowing amber in late afternoon light. On her desk, no trophies, no magazine covers, just a photograph. Her parents in front of their Baltimore row house, her mother in a floral dress, her father in his bus driver's uniform, both smiling like they had everything they needed. That week, Pinnacle closed its largest deal in company history, a $200 million cybersecurity contract with a Fortune 100 corporation. Aisha signed the paperwork alone, coffee going cold beside her. No champagne, no celebration, just a signature, a deep breath, and the next page. She had just hired a new VP of operations, a 29-year-old black woman from West Baltimore, 2 blocks from where Aisha grew up. In the interview, the woman sat with her hands shaking and said, "I saw your story on the news. I thought, if she built all this starting from where I am, maybe I can too. Aisha hired her on the spot, didn't finish the rest of the questions. On a Sunday, Aisha drove to Baltimore. Same narrow street, cracked sidewalks, chain-link fences. Someone grilling 3 houses down. Kids riding bikes in the road with no helmets, just like she used to. Her mother was on the front steps. They sat on the porch. 2 cups of tea, and the kind of silence only people who truly know each other can share. Her mother touched the bracelet on Aisha's wrist, ran her thumb along the smooth, warm gold, the same way she had watched her own mother do 1,000 times. Your grandmother wore that every day for 40 years. She used to say, "The most valuable things in this world don't look valuable to people who don't know what they're looking at." Aisha held her mother's hand. They sat until the streetlights came on and the fireflies appeared above the grass. Tyler Bradshaw lived in a studio apartment in Manassas, 10-year-old sedan with a scratch he couldn't afford to fix, a quiet job at a property management firm where nobody recognized his face and nobody asked questions. Megan never contacted him, not a call, not a text. He saw her once on Instagram, by accident, scrolling late at night. New city, new man, smiling like Tyler had never existed. He stared at the screen for 10 seconds, closed the app, did not open it again. He started therapy. Tuesday evenings, small office, beige walls, a clock that ticked too loud. 3rd session, he leaned forward and said something he had never spoken out loud. "I threw away the best thing I ever had, not because she wasn't enough, because I was too small to see how big she was." Not redeemed, not forgiven, but for the first time in 41 years, awake. Lorraine stopped giving interviews, did not call Tyler, did not reach out to Aisha, did not apologize. Some people never do. Tyler didn't just lose a divorce. He lost a $120 million woman, not because she left, but because he threw her away. He chose a woman who told him what he wanted to hear over a woman who showed him what she could build. He chose the mirror over the window. Injustice was loud. Reversal was quiet. Justice was permanent. Aisha at her desk, late at night, city lights stretching below like a second sky. She closes her laptop, touches the bracelet, and smiles. Not for the cameras, not for Tyler, not for Megan, not for millions of strangers who shared her name. For herself. Now here is my question for you. Have you ever been discarded by someone who didn't know your worth and later realized exactly what they lost? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. If this story hit you in the chest, smash that like button and send it to someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe and hit that bell because every week we tell the stories that need to be told. Some of them might be yours.
Here's what stays with me. Some people will look at you and decide what you're worth without ever asking, without ever checking, without ever caring enough to find out. They will look at your skin, your clothes, where you grew up, and they will write a number in their head, a small number, and they will treat you like that number for the rest of your life. And that's not your problem, that's theirs, because the most valuable things in this world doesn't look valuable to people who don't know what they are looking at. And if someone can't see your worth, that doesn't mean you don't have it. It means they don't have the eyes for that. So stop shrinking yourself for people who already decided you are small. Stop explaining your value to people who refuse to see it. The right people will ask. The right people will look closer. The right people won't need you to prove anything because they already know. And the ones who threw you away, one day they will understand exactly what they lost. But by then, you will be so far ahead you will ever hear them. Like, share, and subscribe. Real stories, real justice every week. And remember, your worth doesn't depend on who sees it. It's always there, whether they look or not.